Let's talk about this horrible story, a tragedy that unfolded just a few days ago during a Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin, where a maroon SUV, which at the time looked like, oh my gosh, maybe it's one of those situations where someone just out of control, lost control, and inadvertently drove through,
had a seizure.
We've seen that happen before. Remember at the promenade in Los Angeles, Santa Monica Pier.
That was an elderly man who actually got confused between the brake and
the pedal. Yeah, is it one of those situations? No. And now it turns out, we'll bring you the very latest on what the police had to say about this, as the police held a press conference and revealed some pretty startling information about the 5 people who were killed. And now we have an update this morning that a 6th person has officially been killed as a result of it. And that 6th person is a child. Dozens are still injured and in the hospital, many in critical condition, close to 50 people in critical condition or in the hospital as a result. But a 6th person has now been confirmed killed as a result of this by this guy here. Listen to how the police describe the events.
Provide an update. At 4:39 p.m. on Sunday, November 21st, 2021, a lone subject intentionally drove his maroon SUV through barricades into a crowd of people that was celebrating the Waukesha Christmas parade, which resulted in killing 5 individuals and injuring 48 additional individuals. I just received information that 2 of the 48 are children and they're in critical condition. We have information that the suspect prior to the incident was involved in a domestic disturbance, which was just minutes prior, and the suspect left that scene just prior to our arrival to that domestic disturbance. When the suspect was driving through into the crowd, one officer did discharge his firearm and fired shots at the suspect to stop the threat, but due to the amount of people, had to stop and fire did not fire any other additional shots.
So, police giving us an update on that situation. He ends up going into custody, but it's now what we know about this guy after the events that is the most troubling part of this, is that this guy ends up, as a result, having a long rap sheet of things that he's already been arrested for and awaiting and has warrants out for his arrest on. Right before, as he mentions there, right before this event takes place, this horrible tragedy of the Christmas parade, he's fleeing the scene of another crime.
He had used his car as a weapon.
Yeah, to drive
against his the mother of his child.
Right.
He had done that earlier in November, weaponized his vehicle.
Right.
And he apparently got so upset again about a domestic dispute that he not only weaponized it against her, but against the public at large.
Right. So he's out on a $1,000 bond. Okay.
Yes.
And I've read a couple of things where they're saying, I can't believe it was just $1,000 that he was. Yes. But again, that has nothing to do with it, because we've covered so many of these stories when I was in the news business that the bail has nothing to do with it. The bail is simply used to compel you to come to your court hearing. So $1,000, it doesn't matter. Why was he let out in the first place? Here's a guy who literally has 10 issues. He has a rap sheet of like 10 different events. Mm-hmm. One of which he uses his vehicle as a weapon to try to drive over and kill a woman. He has a sexual assault issue with a young woman as young as 16 years old. There's another incident, according to reports, where he was using a knife in another altercation. How is this? I mean, the district attorney lets this guy out because.
But the problem then is, do you have a knee-jerk reaction that adversely affects other people that may or may not be guilty of these kind of things? For instance, look at Texas. And when Texas had its awful COVID spikes last year, how many people died in prison that were just awaiting trial because of this like high bail, long trial waiting system? That didn't sound. You should put me on the Joe Biden list. You can't then have a system that punishes people who can't afford higher bails.
But that's not, no. But that's not the
But
bail.
that's what will happen, right? Is now we have all these Republican lawmakers who are like, oh, we need more law and order. We need stricter higher bails. We need stricter laws when we already over-police black people, specifically poor.
But the bail is not even the question. I get what you're saying, but that's not the debate. The debate isn't whether the bail amount should be less or more. 10,000, so then just a rich person who kills people should be 20,000.
Absolutely right.
I get that piece of it, but he shouldn't have been put out on bail at all. He has two felony issues. Here's a guy literally he shouldn't have been let out at all.
Why can you hit each other with cars and get out of prison?
Somebody who's in for like weed or something wouldn't be able to get bail.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. So someone gets locked up for that. So, and when you're a district attorney and you're looking at making a recommendation to a judge, I mean, the district attorney is going to have some answering to do, because if you make the determination and then tell a judge, we think, yes, he's fine. He has this long rap sheet. He's in for a domestic violence where he was trying to kill somebody with a car at a gas station. Like, that's attempted murder.
Yes.
That person should not be let out.
And a car is a lethal weapon in the same way a gun can be.
Yes. And then look at the people that he kills, right? So then he gets in the car. He's fleeing the scene of another of this domestic violence event and is fleeing that, and then runs into this crowd and kills all these people. Specifically, a group of grandmothers, dancing grannies, they tour around Wisconsin and they do like dances at different parades. They really took the brunt of this because they were in the back. So got killed as a result of it. And according to the people, there he is, Darrell Brooks, 39 years old. And he was officially charged with 5 counts of first-degree intentional homicide. Now it'll be 6 because of this child has now just died.
You just have to think about, what do these prosecutors see when they think this is just like on my list today? Like, this guy hit his wife with a car, this guy hit his wife with a crowbar, this guy, it's just so. Our prison systems cannot be overrun with these types of domestic disputes or these types of how could the prosecutor then know, well, this guy's going to snap and kill a group of people? But you can't.
But also he tried to kill his girlfriend.
Right. But again, I think this is indicative of the type of things that these people see on a regular basis, sadly. Like, this thing didn't seem like such an outlier to keep this guy behind prison. So what is the landscape with which it existed that the prosecutor's like, yeah.
Well, that's a good question. Like, we see so much violence that, he just tried to run over his woman with a car. Like, that's not as bad as some of the stuff we see in here. So
you can't know. We can't know. We don't have that caseload, right?
We don't.
So
we don't
that
know.
Guy must see such messed up, I want to use a different word for it, stuff, that how could you know which one of these is going to snap, right? It's just like, these are extremely toxic cases, and you don't know which one's going to become toxic for public at large.
Yeah, and it's sad. Go ahead.
Did you see that story of that Illinois Democrat that was fired over her comments on Twitter calling the Waukesha Christmas parade a karma for what happened with the Rittenhouse trial?
Oh, jeez, no.
No, that's inappropriate, girl.
Yeah.
No.
Ridiculous. So because it happens in Wisconsin,
then you kill grandmas?
And because Kyle Rittenhouse, a jury of his peers looked at the videotape and saw that Rittenhouse was in self-defense, whether or not he should have been there with a gun or whatever, that's not part of the trial. That's karma. So these grandmothers and little children in a totally separate city end up getting killed. That's garbage. And this guy, and they said that he had no emotion as they tried to stop him. Like, these officers were like, we tried to stop him down the street As he was turning, we tried to stop him. Multiple officers have said that, but it appeared like he was just in a zone. He wanted to target certain people. He was in the path of going after children. Some are saying that he was specifically targeting children as he swerved in the videotape, like he was specifically swerving to hit children. Just awful.
I'm just going to guess here, but I'm going to say he was on something, or we don't know that.
We don't know that.
I feel like you would almost have to be like, because I can't even, like, that doesn't even register in my brain as how you could ever get to that point.
Right.
I mean,
Unless
he claims that he was homeless. When he fled the scene, he asked a stranger for help and said that he was homeless. He didn't even know, like the guy that he asked assistance from didn't even know that this had just happened. He basically said he asked for help, saying he was homeless and needed to borrow a phone to call an Uber. And he said, and he was not wearing shoes at the time. He only had a T-shirt on. It was a freezing day there in Waukesha, and they said he was like pretty flustered. But yeah, no shoes, no coat. You're just wearing a T-shirt. It's freezing out, and he goes on this rampage and fleeing from police. I don't know. And he said he wanted to have call an Uber, But he's out on bail. The bottom line, let's just not forget about this. He's out on bail, and he was left to his own recognizance for trying to kill the mother of his child earlier this month, just a few days before this happened. Yeah. So I think, a lot of this culpability here, a lot of the problem here is going to come down to this district attorney who said, yeah, we'll let him out. No problem. Go ahead. Go back home.
Again, I just think it's easy for us to say because you don't know what kind of regular types of violence that you see, and over-policing is something that we're all so skittish about these days. And how can you predict something so crazy like this?
Yeah.
This is not. It's sad because it feels very much like a mass shooting, but it's not. It's just someone who's found a different way to hurt people in a mass amount of numbers with a different weapon, which is not a gun, it's a car, right?
So it is, yeah, I thought it was Waukesha, and then I've heard other people saying Waukesha.
In the chat room, they're saying Waukesha.
Waukesha. It's hard, when I was a news anchor in West Virginia, and I first started that job for that NBC affiliate, there's all these little towns that popped up, and I didn't know, and you have like 4 people in the newsroom. It's like, who do you ask? And it was like these little towns, and especially even though on paper it looks like Tazewell, Virginia. No, they pronounced it Wool, Tazewell, down there in Tazewell. But you wouldn't know that. You need some time,
Yeah.
I don't see Waukesha or Waukesha in the headlines very much, so I guess we should all get on the same page.
And we're also not from there as well. When I filled in on the local news and CBS, they're like, "Ooh, be careful with the borough names." Like, is it Stuyvesant? Stuyvesant,
yeah.
There's a lot of, and names in the Bronx, and he's like, we will get hate mail and death threats from people. So, sorry about that, you
So they're
guys.
saying it's not Kesha. Yeah, not Kesha. It's Waukesha.